So this next part is for those who are driven by advancement, right? Either yourself or somebody you work with. Everything's about steps. Give me the 7 steps to ... How do I do this? Show me exactly, why is this not organized? Why is this not structured? If I was doing it right, I would do this. I wish, you know, this menu, like advancement person, you go to a restaurant with them, they'll start changing the menu. They'll say, this needs to be here. Why'd you order appetizer this way? The drinks out of order. Everything is about sequencing. And if God forbid, one step is out of whack, somebody who's driven by advancement, they may have a bad day over it. So, but here's the thing about advancement. We're going to talk about a lot of different things on advancement. I'm also going to give you the downside about advancement. Here's a few things you need to know about those that are driven by advancement. A person driven by advancement and getting to the next level will typically make a great COO, operation, a great president, a great operator for a company, a great general manager, a great teacher, a great coach. A Bill Belichick is advancement. Everything to him is a system. This last week, I rented out the Foxborough Stadium, and I brought 97 of my executives, and we watched Man in the Arena there for 2 days, every episode of the Patriots and Brady. Then I brought 2 Patriots to come out with the agent of Tom Brady, one of the agent's managers who manages finances, and we asked questions of them for 2.5 hours. And the conversations about Bill Belichick, it was all about system. Here's how you block. First you do this, then you put your leg here, then you do that. Everything is about advancement, right? So if you're somebody that's watching this and you're saying, okay, Pat, what do I do if I'm somebody that's driven by advancement? First of all, everybody wants to hire you. Heck, I want to hire you. If you're somebody that's fully like this, I myself, somebody who is not, personality is not this is not my number one. Everyone around me, this is their strength. My wife, my COO, my investors, my home office support team, my sales leaders, it doesn't matter. Somehow, some way, I attract these folks because I rely myself on this personality so much because there's so much value. If you're watching this, there's so much value. So if it's you, salute, I value. Number 2, if you got people like this in your organization, you better value them because they're very, very valuable. I know this from experience last 20-some years. So let's unpack this. Why are they so valuable? Well, say you bring in somebody, like for example, I brought in Tom Ellsworth. Tom Ellsworth's about advancement, right? I brought him in, and Tom had raised a few $1 billion. He's had a few exits, and he's done a lot of different things. The moment he came in, he looked at it and he says, okay, so here's what we need to hire next. We need to hire a BI. I'm like, go online while he's talking to me. We need to hire a BI. What's a BI? Business Insider. We need to hire a Business Insider? No, what's a Business Insider? I was just reading me. What's a BI? Business, intelligence. Oh, business. What do they do? Well, here's what they do. They pull up all this data for you, and you look at the data, and you know exactly how to improve this, that. I'm like, that's right. That's what we need to hire. I'm like, I had no clue what a BI was, right? But a person driven by advancement knows that. Okay, advancement, expert. Hey, here's what we need to do. What's that? At this point, we're only processing 500 policies per month. We're not sustainable if we're doing 10,000 a month. We need to get a system that can get this done. Oh, really? Yes. How do we get the system? We can either license it, we can buy it, we can build it. What's the cost? You license it's $25,000 a year. You buy it, it's going to be $500,000. You create it yourself, it's going to be $5 million. We started off with licensing, then we bought one, then we built one, we spent $5 million, right? Because it's exact advancement, right? Here's what we do first, here's what we do next, here's what we do next, here's what we do next. The beautiful part about advancement is those who are driven by this, you make great teachers because every single thing, about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, I hired this lady, she came in and very quiet, very timid. From the outside, you would think, like, why is this lady so quiet and shy? She comes, she talks to me like this. She says, Patrick, I have a very special strength that's very different than yours. I'm like, okay, what is it? You're going to like me because I'm going to make your life a lot easier, and I will be out of your hair in 6 months. I said, if you're trying to sell me something, you're not that convincing. She said, just trust me, you're going to be very thankful. I said, can you tell me what you do? What if I told you I'm going to take every single behavior you have in your company right now, and I'm going to turn it into a system that if you hire 5 new employees and you lost all your employees, they know exactly what they need to do to be able to conduct any behavior in the company. I sat there and I said, if you can do that, I'm all in. 6 months. She would go sit next to somebody and watch. What do you do next? I entered here. Then what do you do next? And I entered here. Then what do you do next? Well, it depends. If it's this, it's this. So she can, then if it's this, what do you do? I do this. What if it's this? I do this. 6 months later, she comes and gives me a folder this thick, okay? And she says, every behavior, and I said, every behavior. So ask me any question. I ask questions. She goes to the page 173. What? Yes. Any other question? What do we do when it comes down to complaints that come in? What do we do in this? No way. Everything's in the manual. Do you know what that did? That helped us advance, because every time we hired somebody, every manager, every mid-level manager knew how to teach the new employees any behavior they needed to, because we had the sequencing of step by step by step by step by step, right? That's the structured side of how everything gets better. So again, I can go back and forth about people that I've hired that are on the advancement side. They're going to make the company grow faster. They're going to make things smoother. They're going to solve little gimmicks that no one's paying attention to. And a lot of times, most type A personalities, they won't be paying attention to this. However, let's flip it. What is the downside of somebody that is driven by advancement? Here's what the downside is of somebody that's driven by advancement. They are so logical that they don't speak the emotional language, okay? Let me explain to you, like, let's just say you're married to somebody that's advancement. It's kind of like, hey, babe, I feel like you never tell me you love me. What are you talking about? You don't remember a year and a half ago I told you I love you and I bought those? Yeah, but babe, that's a year and a half ago. But I told you I love you. You know I love you. I don't have to tell you I love you. My dad is like that. He's so much about this. Everything is checklist to my dad, right? My dad will say, I was 21 years old, I got out of the military. I say, hey, Dad, I got to talk to you. You got a son, you got a daughter. You got to tell your kids you love them. You guys already know I love you. No, you need to tell your kids you love your kids, right? And one day I'm at Bally's working, I get a call in the middle of the day, and he calls me and says, hey, I'm like, hey, Dad, what's up? What are you doing? Dad, I'm sitting in front of a customer. Okay, all right, okay. I'm like, Dad, you okay? I love you. Click, he hung up, right? Because to a person driven by advancement, you don't even know how complicated it is to say I love you. You don't even know how complicated it is. Like, some of you guys are watching like, that's freaking me. I know, it's hard. I've had a dad for 43 years that's been like that, right? It's tough, it's difficult. He called my sister that same day. My sister called me saying, is Dad's health okay? I said, why are you asking this question? Because he just called me and told me I love you. I've not heard him say I love you for years. Of course we know Dad loves us, but it's the words that matter, right? So if you're so about advancement and everything is step by step by step by step by step, you forget to paint the picture of where the company is going. You forget to sell the vision of who one day we could be. You forget to sell the vision of who I one day can be in your company. You forget to sell the vision of, you forget to show appreciation to people that are doing their work, saying, hey, Johnny, great job this week. Hey, Jackie, phenomenal job this week. Because everything you look at the lens from a formula, from a strategy, from logic, not emotions. Matter of fact, people who are driven by emotion, you see them as having a weakness in their character. You see that as a weakness in their character, like, oh, they're weak. What do you mean they're weak? If you have to tell somebody they're amazing all the time, they're weak. They're definitely weak, right? So that is the challenge, because when I was asking the Patriot players about what it was like to play under Belichick for all those years, you know what one guy said? Rob Ninkovich, number 50. He was one of the linebackers. He said he started 150 games for the Patriots under Belichick. He says, I would train, I would work. So he said, I was known as the hardest guy on the team. I was working so hard. He said, one day he calls me over to his office. He said, I go into his office, and he says, so do you remember that one time you were practicing and you made that one play and you blocked and you took the step from the outside? Yeah. Good job. He says, I walked out. I'm like, he noticed me. He noticed me. Oh my God, he noticed me. Because Belichick has to make an effort to do that, because it's not in his personality. But even he knows if he wants to build a championship team, he has to understand the emotion side of driving people. So if you're somebody that's driven by this, you have to be very aware. Your reminder on your phone, you know what your reminder on your phone has to be? Make 5 people feel good today. Compliment 5 people today. It's going to be work for you. Some of you guys that don't know how to do this, you're like, that's too much. I think 1 compliment a week is plenty, right? I don't need to do 5 a week. But I'm telling you, try it. Look, test it for yourself today. Go compliment 5 people and tell them they did a good job. See their reaction, okay? Somebody that's not accustomed to it. See what happens to the morale of your office if you do this. So that's one of the flaws and downsides of somebody that's driven by advancement. So there's one thing about people that are driven by advancement, that it's such a massive, valuable strength that I don't think there's any books written about this, not that I've read before, but there's a massive reversal to it. So let me explain what this is. Here's the strength of those that are driven by advancement. You ready? Those that are driven by advancement will do the same thing over and 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 over. I can keep saying this. They'll keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again, and they won't get bored. They're okay with it. They'll order the same food. They'll sit in the same place. They'll do the same thing. They'll wear the same shirt. They'll wear the same clothes. They'll do the same exact routine over and over. There's so much power to this because from the outside, the world's trying to distract the people that are driven by advancement and a system and a philosophy that's working to go elsewhere, but they keep going over and over and over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden, here's what happens. The system works. However, most of the world gets bored very quickly. So the reversal or the downside of those that are driven by advancement, who are okay doing things over and over and over and over and over again, the people around them get bored. So if you, somebody who's fully okay with doing things over and over and over and over and over again, you as the leader have to make sure you figure out ways to make it fun and new and creative and different every time, even though it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. By the way, the people that are also working with somebody that's driven by advancement, they're okay following your lead as long as you're giving me reasons and making it fun to do the same thing over and over again. Because if you don't, FYI, majority of the world is not okay doing the same thing over and over again. They're not. Majority of the world, we don't mind routine. We like things that are safe and we like things that are good, but people will eventually get bored. So think about it this way. Would you rather watch Notebook 100 times or would you rather watch 100 love stories? Let me ask another question. Would you rather watch a movie that, let's just pick, would you rather watch Saving Private Ryan 100 times or would you rather watch 100 new military movies? Would you rather listen to the same thing, same song 100 times or listen to 20 songs 5 times, okay? 20 best hits 5 times. Moral of the story is the following. 100% of love stories are pretty much the same story. At first, there's another guy, but he's always loved her. She goes with this other guy, and then something happens to the guy. He dies, and then he comes back into the picture, and oh my God, they fall in love. But I always loved you. Since the first time I saw you that day when you da-da-da-da-da, you always loved me? I always loved you. Oh my God. Then there's some friction. Then there's people that don't want to see them being together. Then they run away, and then they still end up being together, and then you end up crying at the end. It's the same freaking story, but you want it told in 100 different ways. You don't want it told the same exact way. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the business model of Hollywood, and they understand it. They're telling you the same exact structure of a love story, except in a different format, with different actors and different actresses and different script and different words, but it's the same thing. So if you're watching this and saying, man, that's freaking great counsel for me, because sometimes I keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. If you read one business book and you keep telling the same exact success story from this one book that you know that's Teddy Roosevelt and you're saying it 1,000 different times, your people are bored. Tell the same story told by 50 different people, 100 different people, not the same one. They're getting bored. So now, that's one side. Let me give you the other side when it comes down to this. Once somebody is driven by advancement, gets set in their ways with a system that they do, even if you are able to find a flaw in their philosophy, let's say you're 100% right and proven based on data, that if we do it this way, we're going to get better results, they may still not take your counsel, okay? Because it's having to change the routine that I've been doing for 10 years. It's problematic. You want to change my routine? You got to be out of your mind. So you have to almost, to the person that's driven by advancement, if you're going to show them a better way to improve what they're doing right now, you have to almost give it to them as if it's their idea, not yours. I don't know if that makes sense or not. You can't give it to them that it's your idea. You have to say, hey, you know what I was thinking about the other day? That's step number 3. Remember that one time you said this? That was actually a pretty good idea. What if you actually this? Because maybe you should take your own advice. I think maybe, do you think that could work? I did say that. You did. You remember when you said that? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, you know, maybe. Let me think about it. But it's my idea. You see how that works out? So the advancement people, because it's so much, it's conviction. This is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. And they have so much conviction to it. If there is flaws in their philosophies and way of doing things, and you give feedback, you have to give it from a perspective of their idea, not your idea. It's going to be problematic. And last but not least, the last reversal I'll give you is the following. The downside is advancement sometimes, the creativity is here, because all I'm thinking about is, I want the best formula. I want the best way of doing things. 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 No problem. But we also got to get creativity. So sometimes when everything gets here, creativity drops. You can't lose creativity, because creativity is how you got so efficient in the first place, by you constantly trying to find a better way of doing what you're doing right now. So it's constantly back in the lab, back in the lab. Let me do it again, back in the lab. Can we do it better? Back in the lab. Let me do it better, back in the lab. And so the way you make it better is by testing out creative ways to do it better. You, as the person driven by advancement, cannot be too close-minded to the idea of that even your philosophy that you put together that's the last 5, 10, 15 years, as incredible as it is, it may have some leaks and it can still get better. You got to be open to that idea. Okay, so now let's just say you're working with somebody that's driven by advancement. How do you communicate with them? What do you tell them? So a person driven by advancement has to get direction for somebody that they believe is superior to them. They have a very hard time taking advice from somebody that's not superior to them. And it's very evident. The moment they don't look at the superior as someone that has something to offer to them, they have to go look at somebody above them. It's problematic sometimes. It's almost like they're oblivious to what you're saying if you don't have moral authority of expertise of what feedback you're giving them. Make sense? But if you do have that, and you know how to deliver the message to them, and you do it in the right way, it works very well. Again, remember, I love hiring people that are driven by advancement, and it's all checklists. So now, say you have somebody that you're working with that is driven by advancement. So everything is, here's what we do, here's why we do what we do, and here's how we do what we do. What do you mean? So here's what we do, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, okay, why do we sell insurance? Because da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so how do we sell it? Here's how we sell it. Oh, okay, here's what we do. What do we do here? We solve people's ability to track and follow with their customers. Oh, so that's what we do? Why do we do that? Why is that so important? Oh, because 92% of sales are lost in follow-up. And let me explain to you why. Okay, that makes sense. The logic's behind it. So how do we do it? Here's how we do it. Look at our software. And our software has a 17-step process that it goes through to track this and sends this an automated email. Wow, it's pretty powerful. Okay, cool. I can do this. See how that worked out? Everything to them has to be here's what we do, here's why we do it, here's how we do it. And that process for you, just test it out this week yourself, even for yourself. If you're somebody that's driven by advancement, you're like, yeah, it's pretty much me. He's talking to me. That's exactly how I like it. Tell me what we do, tell me why we do, tell me how we do it, and I'll go get it done. I'll do better than you're doing it right now, no problem. That's one part. The other part, somebody that's driven by advancement, they love things like this, okay? Specific, step by step by step by step by step. First, you prospect. How do I prospect? Here's how you prospect, okay? Okay, why do I prospect? This is why you prospect. Here's how you prospect. What do I do next after I prospect? Then you make the phone call, okay? Why do I make the phone call? Here's why you make. How do I make the phone call? Here's how you make the phone call. If they say this, you say this. If they say this, you say that. I can do that. Okay, why do I send the email? Everything is like step by step by step by step by step. The more structured you are in your systems of how you drive any product through, the more you're going to be able to retain people that are driven by advancement who are organized. The less you're organized and structured, the more you're going to drive them insane. Now, every once in a while, you may be somebody that doesn't have everything together. You're not very organized. You don't have structure in place. So you're not somebody that's driven by advancement. But you bring somebody in who's bought into the company, who's bought into you, and they fully want to see the vision become a reality. They see themselves as, I can really help this company out because I know this company's got a sincere vision and a goal. I'm all in. Here's how I think I can help. I think I can make that better. I think I can make this better. I think I can make that better. I think I can make this better. And the right personalities together, like let's just say madness and an advancement, great combination. An individual and an advancement, great combination, right? Even a purpose you throw in there, they can work very well together because somebody who's got a big purpose, I think we can go out there and do this and make an impact in the world. The advancement person is going to say, okay, so that's what we're going to do. Yeah, why do we need to do that? Here's why. How are we going to do it? Let me show you how we're going to do it. Da, 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 da. That's the advancement part. So if you are working with somebody that's driven by advancement, be very thorough, be very clear, be very, explain why we do what we do, the reasoning behind it, and you'll see the level of trust go up, and then give them clear set of expectations of what to get done by when. They'll go out there and get it done. If there truly are somebody that's driven by advancement.